So is the lock? I will make sure. Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today. um, maybe it might be helpful maybe to start with a short breathing exercise meditation. Also that will be also part of tool that we can use to let go. That is one of the tools, meditation, that we can use when our mind is bothered, disturbed by certain feelings, emotions, through such breathing meditations. We can it can help us to bring our mind in the moment present, and through that, to be able to let go of the thoughts, feeling that is bothering us because of the past or because of the futures. Okay. So try to make yourself relaxed, comfortable. And let your breath flow naturally. Keep your attention on mind, observing the breath mindfully. For some, it can be helpful to, when you breathe in, watching your mind, you are breathing in, being aware you are breathing in. When you breathe out, watching it, being aware you are breathing out. And with each set, you can count 1 to 10. Breathing in, breathing out, 1. Breathing in, breathing out, 2, like that, up to 10. Again, you can start again from 1 to 10. Or you can just focus on the breath. If your mind gets distracted, be aware of that, recognize that, and you can bring back to your breath. Anytime you find your mind distracted, you can always bring back to the breath. Then we can think, us coming here together to engage in these talk discussions, may it become cause and conditions to develop wisdom, understanding, and the compassion for oneself and others. Okay, so the topic of the discussion today is the art of letting go. You can say the art of letting go is one of the main practice or meditation you find in Buddhism. Is related with letting go of, grasping, attachment, clinging to, people, other beings, other objects, outcome, and so forth, as well as being attached to the self, the ego, which is the root of a lot of other negative emotion feelings that disturb our inner peace, um, and that become hindrance to have clarity in our mind and insight. So a lot of time, our mind is distracted either in the past or either in the futures. Hardly we find our mind in the moment present. Letting go is, through understanding the reality, and then, being okay and accepting the reality of the moment present, and thereby being peace with that. Due to things that happened in the past, we carry a lot of loads and burden from the past, regret, guilt, for example, I could have done this way, I shouldn't have done that way, I should have said that way, I shouldn't have said that way, I should have acted, I shouldn't have acted. So, all these kind of what happened in the past, which didn't go so well. And then based on that, we still feel very regret and guilt about that. And we are still carrying that load and burden for many years. And that doesn't help. It doesn't change what has happened in the past. Whatever happened is happened. Whether you hold on that or whether you let it go, it doesn't change whatever happened in the past. You cannot bring back that. You can learn from there for sure. And then, we can learn from the past and hope to improve, try to improve, hope and try. Not to make mistake and do things better. But we have to let it go of holding that kind of regret and guilt from that. A lot of time we think, if I haven't done that, if I said that, if I did that, things could have been different. But that's only in your assumptions. Things could have been much worse. You never know. The assumption is, if I didn't do that, things could have been better. Or if I did that, things could have been better. But that's all in assumptions. We never know whether things could have gone better or could have been much worse than that, for one. Secondly, even, now when you think about maybe we could have done differently. But again, we could have done differently now because maybe we are more grown up. Maybe we have more experience now, from that time, compared to that time. At that time, we did according to what your understanding, knowledge at that time. You cannot compare now when you have grown up more and when you have more wisdom, and you have to be okay and let it go. It's like a child. You have to understand it. At that time, you are the child. If a grown up might have taken slight done differently. So through that way of contemplating, you try to be more kind, compassion yourself, and not be too hard on yourself. So that is one way, that how we can let it go. Yeah. A lot of time, you know. Yeah, we think things could happen better if we do differently. But again, as I said, it's not always guaranteed. If we have done differently, things could have been better. You know. So that understanding can help us to be less guilt and less regret. Because the feeling of guilt and regret is because things could have been much better if I did that way or if I didn't do that way. Yeah. But that is only, as I said, it is only assumption. It's only assumptions. Things could have been much more worse. That is the reality. We don't know. We don't know. It could have been better. It could have been much worse. So therefore, feeling guilt and regret on the basis that it is, if you haven't done that or if you have done that thing, would have been better, is just an assumption and not a reality. It's just our mental assumption and reality, but it's not necessarily reality of that. Once we understand that, and once we accept that, it can be helpful to release and let go of the guilt and the regret we feel about certain things in the past, from the past. The other things is, even we have made mistake, we feel it's a mistake when we look from now at the present moment because of our more knowledge, more wisdom, more experience, more mature, compared to some of mistakes we make when we are younger, when we are less mature, when we have less experience, when we had less knowledge, So again, in that moment, in that time, in that moment, that much of wisdom you have, that much of maturity you have, according to the maturity, wisdom, experience you have, you felt that was the best to do. At that moment, that was the better decision. Maybe when you look now, maybe it might not be because of different state. So again, through such understanding and acceptance, again, you don't hold so strongly and, learn to release it, learn to kind of let it go, And also learning to forgive, forgive others, forgive yourself. From Buddhist point of view, except for the Buddha himself, everyone make mistake. Even the highly realized bodhisattvas, practitioners, still make some mistakes. Maybe they make less mistake compared to less unenlightened one, but still, even they are much more, even though they have made a huge progress and lived in their life, in their spiritual path, still they make a mistake. The only one who is perfect is only the Buddha. And so therefore, being imperfect, making mistake is not only you, everyone's, all sentient beings. And through mistake, that's how we learn, how we grow. So therefore, we shouldn't be so harsh on ourselves for making some mistake, for being imperfect. In our present state, trying to be perfect is against the reality. We have the potential to be perfect when it's a fully awakened state, fully enlightened. But as a sentient beings, expecting a sentient being to perfect is impossible. Expecting another sentient beings to be perfect is unrealistic, not to the reality. Expecting you to be perfect is unrealistic, unkind, too harsh. So being imperfect and making mistakes, okay, because we are sentient beings. Sentient beings make mistakes, and they are imperfect. That's why they are sentient beings. If they are perfect, they don't make mistake, then that person must be Buddha. If you are not Buddha, you make. So therefore, through such understanding and accepting, I'm not only one who is perfect. I'm not only one who is making mistake. Even some of my role models, the bodhisattvas, whom we inspire to be, even they make mistake. Even they are imperfect. So it's okay. It's okay for me to make mistake and be imperfect. Of course, we try to improve slowly, to make less and less mistake, and to be better and better. That is what we inspire. That is what we try to do. But accepting is, as a sentient beings, the nature of sentient beings, as a sentient beings, everyone make mistake and imperfect. That is the nature of the sentient beings. Through such understanding, again, learning to be more gentle with oneself. More gentle with oneself. When we are not perfect, when we are not being able to be perfect, and when we do make mistake, it doesn't mean that we don't try to improve it. We always try to improve it. We always try to make it better, but at the same time, not being too harsh. Not being too harsh. Being gentle, being kind, treating yourself like as you would treat a young baby, young child, young baby. They make mistake, still we treat them gently, kindly, because we understand they are still growing, they are still learning. Do you get it? We know they are not fully grown up. They are not fully, they are still learning everything. They are still learning. So because you see, you understand, you accept them as they are still maturing, they are still growing, they are still learning a lot of things. So they make those mistakes and they will slowly learn from that. So you are more kind and gentle, less harsh. Same way, that is how we treat. We are ordinary sentient beings who are at the very beginning and we are just learning. We are all learning. And as that part of learning, because we haven't learned everything, because we haven't gained all the knowledge, because we haven't gained all the experience, so we continue to, make mistake here and there. And that is part of growth. That is part of the life. That is part of the journey, the spiritual journey as well. Through such understanding and acceptance, we learn to be more kind and gentle. And if you learn to be more kind and gentle to yourself, and also you can learn to be more kind and gentle to others. It seems when people are hard on themselves a lot of time, also they are hard on others. When they are kind and gentle to themselves, they seem to be more kind and gentle because they have that qualities, something within themselves that they can kind of share with others as well. It's I have observed, there are some people who are workaholic. What do you call workaholic?
Workaholic. Workaholic.
Workaholic. Who doesn't mind working very hard all the time, and because they enjoy doing that, because that is something they like to do, they enjoy doing that. They expect others. They don't understand. Others are not like, and they get tired. They cannot work so many hours like they can do. It's not same. It's harder for them to understand that. People who have gone through themselves with all these hardship, they are able to understand others. Oh, they might be getting tired. It's too much for them because they have experienced themselves. They are more likely to understand. And similarly, that is what when you learn to be kind to yourself, you learn to be gentle to yourself, you learn to be more forgiving for yourself, then you know how to forgive others, how to be gentle to others, how to be kind to others as well. So that is letting go of being, too harsh to ourselves by having these unrealistic expectations of, the unrealistic expectation to be perfect and not to make any mistake, isn't it? That's what we expect of ourselves. I shouldn't make any mistake. I should be perfect in everything I do. So because I made mistake, because I was imperfect, so then you feel bad about yourself. And you become critical of yourself. You become hard on yourself. That kind of unrealistic expectations of yourself to be perfect and without making any mistake is rooted in that attachment to our ego. Is rooted in attachment to the ego that I must be perfect and the best all the time. As I mentioned before, letting go is letting go of the attachments, which is the root of a lot of those problems. And that is letting go of attachment to the ego. The ego that feel, attachment to that ego of being the perfect and, without any mistake. So, and not only we become such an unrealistic expecting ourselves, then we project that also others. Then we also expect others should be perfect and shouldn't make any mistake. And when someone make mistake and when imperfect, then it bothers us. It bothers our mind. How come you make mistake? How come you are not perfect? As though that he or she is not trying. Do you get it? As though that she is not trying. We feel like as though he or she is not trying. Despite trying, still people make mistake. Still people become imperfect. And if you relate with yourself, you are trying all the time to be best, not to make mistake, to be perfect, best of yourself. We are trying to be best child, we are trying to be best parent, we are trying to be best partners, all of that. But still, despite all our trying, we do make mistake and we are imperfect because we are ordinary sentient beings full of still a lot of delusions, not free from the delusions. So therefore we make mistakes. Same way, just as even trying our best, sometimes we make mistakes. In the same way, we also understand others. It doesn't mean they are not trying if they make mistake. If they're imperfect, it doesn't mean they are not trying. Through such understanding, then again, we can develop more kindness, more gentleness, and and thereby letting go of any kind of negative feelings towards others and towards yourself. Sometimes, we carry a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of bitter feelings from the past for what someone has done, for what someone has said, but again, as one of the great Indian master, Chantakiti says, by getting anger, is it going to change the situation? Whatever has happened doesn't change the situation, what has happened. But by carrying that anger, that resentment, that bitter feeling, you are hurting yourself, you are harming yourself. Whatever hurt, harm that person did at that time, whatever he said, she said, whatever attitude he or she showed, whatever harm that we perceive is only momentary, maybe a few seconds, maybe they say something. It lasts maybe a few minutes. It's gone, but you have been carrying that for days, weeks, months, and suffering, pain from that, continue to suffering from that, not being able to let it go. No. And that's how we suffer. And so therefore, the sooner we are able to let it go, we don't have to carry the burden of that. You become much more lighter. You become much more peaceful. And when you become much lighter, peaceful, there's more space in your mind. That calmness, spaciousness, it gives you more clarity. When your mind is disturbed by such as anger, resentment, your mind becomes muddy. You cannot think clearly. There's no clarity, you cannot think clearly. So therefore, why we need to, importance of letting go of those feelings, because it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't help others. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help short-term, long-term. It helps no one. And we let go, we let it go by understanding, just as I mentioned before. Everyone make mistake. Sometimes intentionally, unintentionally, we hurt others. Sometimes we don't mean to it, but sometimes we say things in a moment of anger. And sometimes we regret later. We feel embarrassed about that. Why we feel embarrassed and regret? Because that is something you don't really mean to do it, but you lost your mind and you did something in that moment, isn't it? Otherwise, why would you regret that? Why would you feel embarrassed by that? Because it's something you don't want to do, but in moment due to certain condition, you lost your mind. You couldn't control your mind. That is what happened. It can be for others people, which we have been carrying all this burden a lot. Also, they might have did things in that moment, losing a moment, and they might be feeling embarrassed. They might be feeling, regret. They feel bad for you. They feel bad for themselves. And we are carrying all this anger, resentment, how horrible that person must be wishing me bad all the time, must be, all of that. And we might be, if he regrets and if he's embarrassed, why didn't he apologize? Even in our life, sometimes we recognize we make mistakes. Sometimes we get embarrassed, and sometimes we are regretful or something. But at the same time, we also doesn't apologize all the time. Do we? No. Sometimes we feel we will apologize later. We forget about them. Sometimes we are kind of, embarrassed to apologize, or our ego is too strong to apologize. And due to that, sometimes even something we are embarrassed and regret of doing something which we don't feel good about it, still we haven't been able to reach out and say, I'm sorry about what I've done. Because we didn't apologize, before we didn't reach out them and say, I'm sorry, does that mean that you have still holding about that bad feelings? That you haven't let it go? That you are not embarrassed and that? No, So can others be also same way? They feel bad about it, but they haven't been able to reach out. So through that, then we kind of learn to let it go and not to hold on that. We hold on that because we think, they're, yeah. And if we go at the root of all of them, again, is because of the attachments, because of the attachments. We're attached to our ego, we're attached to ourselves, we're attached to our wealth, we're attached to our reputation, we're attached to praise, we're attached to people liking us and all of that. And when that doesn't happen, then we get disappointed. Instead of praise, criticize, then we get very unhappy, disturbed, hurt. Why are you so hurt and disturbed by someone's criticism? Because we are so attached to the praise, we have strong aversion to the criticism. Those two are the opposite. The more attached you are to the praise, the more stronger aversion and dislike you have for the criticism. Whenever you face criticism, then you feel very hurt, disturbed, agitated. Same, the more we are attached to gain the wealth, the more we have aversion to losing the wealth. And whenever we feel and perceive someone is creating obstacle for our wealth, gain of our wealth, then we feel angry, upset. We feel they are the obstacles. We feel they are the obstacles. And we have aversions, anger. And that disturb our mind. Not only disturb our mind, our peace, we carry on that. Same, when you are so attached to attachment, comfort, pleasure, then we have strong dislike to, discomfort, sufferings, unpleasure. And whenever we feel someone or something is contributing to our discomfort, towards our sufferings, toward our unpleasure, then we have a strong aversion, dislike, strong aversion, and then anger arises. So it's rooted in attachments. So here training, the learning is to learn to be, accepting, learning to accept whatever happens. Of course, it doesn't mean we don't try to improve things. It doesn't mean we try to have more comfort. It doesn't mean we don't try to make more comfort and try to avoid discomfort. It doesn't mean we try to not to have happiness and avoid sufferings. It doesn't mean we don't try to have pleasure and avoid displeasures. It doesn't mean we don't try to have praise and avoid criticisms. It doesn't mean we don't try to, improve or accumulate or gain wealth, and we don't try to avoid losing them. But one, it means we are not very grasping attached to them. Instead, without such, we try whatever we can, however we can, without grasping and attachments. And if you don't have a strong attachment and grasping, then you are okay and happy and accepting whatever happens after you try your best. And if we can do that, then our life will be much more peaceful and calm all the time. At the moment, our life is kind of up and down all the time because of the changing that. When someone like you are excited, and that person dislike you, you are down. Someone offer you something, you are happy. Someone take you something from you are unhappy. Someone praise you, you are happy. Someone criticize you, you are unhappy. So, one of the meditation on practice to let go, of all this negative feeling that arises due to the strong attachments is, learning through practice meditations, to have equanimity to all of them. Practicing equanimity, both gaining the wealth, losing, praise, criticisms, comfort, discomfort, pleasure, unpleasure, happiness, sufferings, fame, becoming insignificant, no one's, being okay with that. You have fame, reputation, you are okay. And when you lose your reputation, your fame, and when you become no one, insignificant, you are okay and fine and happy with that. If people praise you, that's nice of them, kind of them, wonderful. If someone criticizes them, that's okay. It's what people, not everyone will agree with what you think, what you say. There will always be someone who will disagree, someone who will have different opinions, criticism. Everyone will have. Buddha has criticisms. During his time, continue to have people who criticize his teachings, his knowledge. Jesus, at his time, there were a lot of criticism. At his time, there are also a lot of people who criticize still now. So if they face criticism, who are we not to expect criticism? To expect everyone not to criticize you for your thinking, your way of doing, your view is our ego. Otherwise, is expected. As they're saying, when there's 2%, there are 2 views, 2 opinions. When there's 4%, 4 opinions. 10%, 10 opinions. 100%, 100 opinions. That is why the institution gets bigger and bigger. There's more and more, conflict because there's more opinion. When the institution is small, less people, less opinions. It's a little bit more easier. But institution bigger, there's more people, there's been more opinions. And that is where. And so therefore, as long as sometimes you don't need even 2% to have a different opinion. You yourself have different opinion. One day you think this is best, next day you say it's not good, Isn't it? That is why even in politics, some people, they are very like this, and then they go to the very far. far right. And then they're very far right, and then after some time they're very far left. It changes. Even one person's view, ideas, opinion changes from time to time. So when there's others involved, for sure, And so through such understanding, we learn to be okay with that, accepting that. Accepting that is okay. That's what it is. And having this kind of equanimity, not to attach to one and not strong aversion to others, but being fine and okay, whatever happens. I will prepare to have this, but I'm okay with this too. Do you get it? I would like to have the first choice, but I'm happy with the second choice too. I will try to achieve the first choice if it's possible, but absolutely being open and fine and accepting if second choice is also fine, equally. And that kind of, because sometimes again, when we think of equanimity, then sometimes you think, if I have equanimity, then maybe I cannot push to achieve anything. Do you get it? But you have first choice, second choice, and you aspire for the first choice. You work for the first choice, but at the same time, you are also equally accepting, being happy with the second choice, third choice, fourth choice. And that is one of the practice of letting go, is through the practice of equanimity. There is a meditation practice on equanimity, and that can be very also powerful practice method, um, because due to attachments, we have a lot of expectation to certain outcome, certain result. And whenever we perceive, of course, when we are unable to, so because of that strong attachment and expectation to certain results, certain outcome, if we are unable to achieve that, then we feel I'm not good enough, I'm incapable, then we can become harsh on ourselves, I couldn't accomplish this, I'm failure because I couldn't accomplish this, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. So we become harsh on ourselves, and then whenever we perceive someone, whether they are actually really creating an obstacle or not, but when from our perspective, from the way we see, from we look, someone is creating some obstacle, then we have strong anger, strong resentment, aversions, isn't it? Because you are very strongly attached to this outcome. You are strongly, has strong expectation attached. And whenever you feel someone is being on your, your way to achieve that, whenever you perceive someone creating an obstacle, then that is where anger arises, aversion arises towards that. All of that, why? Because of that strong attachments, expectation for that outcome, that sudden outcome, sudden result that you are very attached to, which is very much rooted in the attachments. So letting go is practicing non-attachments. One of the method, one of the practice, meditation to let go of all this, is by meditation and practice of non-attachments. And we learn, meditate on non-attachment by seeing the reality of impermanence. How all these condition, objects, phenomena changes all the time. Happiness will not remain happiness all the time. It changes. It doesn't last forever. As one of our teachers says, when chocolate runs out, your happiness runs out. The happiness that comes through the chocolates is not forever. And all different pleasure and happiness we enjoy is same. The object we rely on, those objects are unstable, unreliable, ever-changing, decay. When there is change, when decay, the happiness, the pleasure, the comfort that rely on also change. So therefore, when something, the object of that pleasure or happiness is changing, the happiness itself, pleasure itself changing, what is the point of holding and grasping so tightly to that? There's no point of grasping and holding that. Is unrealistic. It's not possible. And so through that, by understanding impermanent nature of that change, we learn to be more relaxed, not to hold too tightly, not to cling and grab too tightly. Non-attachment helps to do that. The practice non-attachment by understanding having the insight or awareness of impermanent nature. Same, fame, good reputations, they are impermanent. They can't last forever. Comes, goes, So, for some reason, if we have fame, some good reputation, we shouldn't be, again, holding so tightly. We shouldn't grasp on that, cling on that too tightly. Shouldn't be so attached to that because you are going to lose them one day, for sure. You try all your best not to lose, but it is going to be loose. Because the nature of that is impermanent. You cannot make something impermanent nature permanent. It's not possible. The nature of that is impermanent. How can you try to hold it like a permanent? So it's going to be disastrous if you are trying to do that. It's going to be a lot of disappointment, a lot of pain. So through that understanding, we learn to let go of attachments. Wealth. No matter how much wealth you have, again, they are impermanent. They will come and go. You cannot hold on them all the time. So something that cannot retain all the time, which is ever changing, better not to hold, trying to hold and too tightly and grasp and cling on too tightly. So we learn not to do that through such understanding of the impermanent nature of that. Same, praise. When people say nice thing about you, praise you, we shouldn't be so attached to that. We shouldn't be holding so tightly. Because same people who are praising you will criticize you next day, next week, next month, or few years. Even if they don't criticize, there will be someone else criticizing you. Not because you are bad persons necessarily, or your view is bad, but because it doesn't fit the way they think. It's just different view. And because it's a different view, so they have criticism on that view. you know. And so therefore, again, you know, someone liking you, someone praising you, someone being nice to you, while we are very grateful of someone being liking you, being nice to you, praising you is wonderful of them, but at the same time, you shouldn't be holding too tightly, grasping at that. By understanding this is also impermanent. It is now, but it will go. It will not remain. So through that, you know, that we learn not to be attached to that. Also, when you are facing the opposite, you know, criticism, also you learn, you know, this is also impermanent. This criticism is not going all the time. You know, if there is someone who is criticizing me or my view, my way of doing, my ideas, there are some others who support, praise my ideas, my views. You know, so through that we balance. Sometimes when someone criticizes you, feel like everyone's criticizing you, everyone's dragging you, everyone's against your view, your ideas. When it's not. Even the person who doesn't agree with you now or who criticizes you, that person might support you later. They might change their view, or you might change your view. And so there's no reason to have a strong aversion to that. There's no reason to strong dislike, a strong aversion to that. You know, so learning through that understanding, learning to be more accepting whatever happens. You know, when people like you, praise you, also not being attached. When someone criticizes you or dislike you, also not having strong aversion and dislike. When you have comfort, pleasure, happiness, also not being so attached. When you have discomfort, unpleasure, pain, or suffering, also not being so dislike and strong aversion to it. By understanding discomfort, unpleasure, sufferings help us to grow. Understanding, you know, those help us to develop love, compassion, empathy. You know, in generally speaking, you know, people who have gone through pain themselves, they are more likely to understand people who are going through similar pain. People who haven't gone through them, is more harder for them to understand that because they haven't experienced that pain, what it means to be in that situation, that pain. And because when we go through our own discomfort, unpleasure, and pain, it helps us to feel compassion for others who are going through similar or worse. So it helps us to develop compassion. It helps us in our path. Through such understanding, then we will learn to not dislike them so much, aversion, because it's helpful in certain way. It's discomfort, but at the same time, it's helpful in our spiritual path to develop more love, compassion, you know. Same thing, you know, when you have fame, good reputation is okay, you know, not being okay and not attached to that, enjoying that. At the same time, when you have, you know, bad reputations or become from fame, becoming insignificant, no one, also being okay and happy, you know, by understanding becoming insignificant, you have less pressure, you have more freedom and less pressure, you know. I I have listened to so many people who are famous, you know, where their struggles when they go out, you know, they have to wear because everyone's come, they cannot even have a privacy anywhere. They get stuck. Anywhere outside they go, they are stormed by people wanting autograph, wanting pictures. They cannot have conversation while they are someone will come, all that. So to know that you don't have to go through that. You have your privacy or your freedom. You don't have pressure. When you're fame, you have to live to that fame. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of people, a lot of people, a lot of people have difficulty to keep those pressure, and they collapse under the pressure. A lot of them collapse under the pressure, not being able to reaching one point to maintain that is not easy. So again, trying to understand the positive side of all of that. And when you see the positive side of them, you begin to appreciate more. At the moment, we only see the negative side, So there's that whole training on this, trying to develop equanimity and accepting whatever comes is by understanding both positive and negative of both things. Do you get it? It's not like one side is totally negative and one side is totally positive. By understanding, this has positive, negative side. This also has positive, negative. Through that, then you learn to practice equanimity, and through equanimity, accepting. And one of another practice meditations is to let go, is to learn to be in moment and present through the meditations, mindfulness, As I mentioned at the very beginning, our mind is too distracted with the past or futures. It's too much fear, worry about what might happen in the futures. Either we're holding on the past, or either we are too much thinking about the futures. Past is gone, future is unknown. What is in our hand is present, but we are hardly present, always in the past or futures. So through such practice meditation, we learn to be in moment and present and appreciate what we have in the moment. And when you are able to do that through meditation technique practice, then you can let go of all the feeling from the past and the fear, worry, anxiety about futures. So a lot of time your mind is, wandering either in the past and futures. But by using the breath, for example, object can be different. But using the breath, you train your mind, you learn your mind to be in the moment, present with the breath. And when you are able to do that, to be able to keep your mind in the moment with the present, with the breath, then all the thoughts of the past dissolve. All the thoughts of the future dissolve. And then that way you are able to let it go. And through such practice also, you learn to observe whatever feeling arises without any judgmental thoughts, without fighting against it, or without getting attached to some, and without fighting against some. You just learn to observe them mindfully and not get involved with them. And if you learn how to do that, it comes and it goes. It wouldn't affect you so much. For example, whether it's anger, whether it's a feeling of regret, guilt, fear, worry, those different emotions, different feelings, by nature, they are momentary. But it doesn't feel like momentary, isn't it? It feels like I have had this feeling for 10 years, or 1 year, or few months, few weeks, few hours, few days, few hours at least. We feel like it's because we keep on giving the fuel to that one thought, one spark, and you give fuel with other thoughts, and it keep alive, and you continue to keep it alive by another thought, and that continues. But each of them are momentary. It's like a spark. On the spark, you keep on throwing kerosene. The spark doesn't go away because even the spark is momentary like this. But when you give the fuel continuously, it will continue as long as you give the fuel. So in this practice meditation, you learn not to give the fuel. You just observe the spark. It comes. And if you don't engage, you learn not to engage with them. If you don't engage with that thoughts, that feelings, then you are not giving fuel to it. If you don't get fuel to it, it comes momentarily and it goes. It only lasts momentarily. So then it doesn't affect you so much. So that is also another technique meditation you find, to let it go, So yeah, those are the some. So maybe I will kind of open for a few questions if there is. Anyone has any questions? Any? Yes, please. Yeah.
Thanks for the talk. It's really exciting. I particularly liked where you said you keep refueling the thought and it just stays alive. Is it possible that sometimes samskaras are so strong that it takes a long time to let go? Or is it easy to just let go? Or is it like a practice you keep practicing until it?
Yeah, I think to let go, you have to practice over the time. It's not just one moment event and you have just one awakening, enlightenment, and then it's gone. As I said, some of the technique, whether it's a mindfulness meditation, whether it's the practice in the equanimity meditation, whether it's non-attachment, those meditations you need to continue to practice and build over the times. And as our practice meditation become more stronger, then we are able to let go more easily and easily. So it takes time, and it also depends on what we are hanging on. Some of things we can let it go easily. Some of them it will be much more harder to let it go, because of the situation, event. Some might be more easy to let it go than others. And also it depends on individual too. It also depends on the individuals. It depends on different circumstances.
Is it a good idea to question oneself, like why am I not able to let go, or what is the expectation?
Oh yeah, for sure. It is definitely. You have to. We try to go to the very root why we are unable to go. And if we find out what's the root, then we will walk with that root, then we might be able to let it go. Sometimes we are trying to let it go, but only on superficial level, surface level, because we didn't go to the very root. We feel that we have done with that, then again, it's not done. Again, it comes later. We feel I closed this chapter, but something happened, it triggers, and your resentment suddenly comes, and then something you think you have taken care of, then by that trigger, then everything bring back. Then you start, so you did this time, you did this, and you have all the list, which you thought maybe you have already kind of done with. That means we haven't really clear it from the very bottom of it, from the very root of it, and so, but if we understand, we question why I'm unable to let it go, what is the root of that? And if we are able to find the very root of that, and if we try to deal with that very root, then once you are able to let it go, then you let it go for sure. Yeah. Yes, please.
I really just to refresh my memory, because I'm a bit different tired. On the 4 points of the suffering and removing suffering, I've got some new friends here talking new to Buddhism. So the root cause of suffering, the I always forget now of removing the suffering.
Four Noble Truth, okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine. Because, yeah, it is new terms, new ideas, and so.
They helped me a lot through life. I can't remember.
So is the truth of suffering and the truth of origin, which is the origin or the cause of the sufferings, and the truth of cessation. The cessation is the cessation from the sufferings. And the path, the truth of path. The path is the one that leads to the cessations. So you can think of the result and cause, how we get in samsara and experience suffering, and the result and the cause that lead out of samsara or sufferings. The first two are how. The path. The path that lead to the cessations. Yeah. Cessation.
Truth of sensation, the truth of the path.
Yes.
Thank you.
The truth of cessation.
How to remove the suffering, and analysing one's own suffering.
Like seed.
And in the palm, to escape the cycle in the palm.
Yes, cessation like seed. And
So when I've done, like you were saying, a lot of self reflection for a lot of my suffering, I'm full of joy, love everybody. And I found that really helpful, looking at the root cause, removing here. But I think it is kind of intuitive.
Yes.
yes,
Okay, so the next 2 days talk on long range, which is the graduated path, is focusing on the path, right? Of one.
yeah, mainly the path, yes, but yeah,
More important.
Or
is lumbering mean graduate path is kind of systematic how we can progress on the spiritual path, where to start, and then how we can progress with each different meditation practice to the cessations or to achieve fully awakened state, fully enlightened state. Yeah. So, yeah, it's part of the path.
You know how you were talking before about, how we hang on to stuff that people have done and all that sort of stuff, like in the past, and we keep that as good. But it's also stuff that, like people haven't done, like lived up to expectations or, when you have your thought towards somebody, when something pops into your mind, you're like, yeah, that's right, it's different. So, do you believe that those negative thoughts actually affect that person?
Not directly. I don't think so.
So if someone feels angst towards us or anger towards us, do you feel that
Not
It's
directly.
not I'll be with you.
Oh, now I'm feeling it. No, no, I can see you are angry. No, I can feel it.
But the energy that they're going to you.
I don't know. From distance, I don't think you can feel it. But like if you're close by, then you can feel the energies. One can feel the energies in the close proximity. From distance, if someone is angry in a different part of the world, I don't think you can feel it. Unless in certain individual, with higher level of, I don't know, sensitivity and different conditions. Otherwise, but definitely in close proximity, you can feel it. A lot of time you can feel the energy. You can feel the energy from the observations, energies. If someone's upset and angry, yeah. Yes.
Maybe it's split in terms of, I definitely would like to come with a library, but at the same time, a PhD commitment. So what advice do you have, or where is that some kind of suffering? Because part of me wants to come along for this, and part of me is like actually doing some PhD work together. So
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of conflict, we have a lot of time in our life. We want to do so many things.
Yeah.
We need to do so many things at once, and we have only kind of time, and so you just try to prioritize what you feel is more important.
I think both are important.
But still, both are important. But then within these two, you have to kind of see what is more.
Skip Saturday or
Uh,
the beginning of Saturday.
And so yeah, so you have to think which is more beneficial and for oneself, and also for different reasons. Yeah.
Yes, like if I just come for part of it on Sunday, is that still okay, or is that do I have to do it from the start?
No, if you don't have time, you can come sessions, even though you will still you can get some help, because each sessions is not like one cannot understand each session if you didn't have the previous sessions, even though they are kind of leading one to the next and that lead to the next. Yeah.
Are you recording Saturday?
Yes.
Yep. So you can go Sunday, then watch Saturday or Monday. What's them in reverse? Go from 4 to 3 to 2 1.
Yes, I'm PhD in the
Look pretty.
and it's fucking pink like this.
Really?
Any other questions before we close it?
What time tomorrow morning?
It's 10.
Yes, tomorrow we actually, all day, actually, we get 10 to 3:30 with a 1.5 hours.
So 10 to 12, and then 4:30 to 3:30.
So we break the number into 4 parts. But tomorrow we do 2 parts, and this Monday we do another.
Wait.
Yeah, we don't want to count our understanding check. We have a prayer hall, which is part of my house, so it's a nice prayer hall. It's so text me the address. It's nice prayer on Sunday. Geshe is complete on Sunday for much more. Just let me know the numbers then. Yeah, and I'm not feeling my lunch point provide, I think you are not good energies on.
My French books and people
All the
of learning. So, Geshe said that you were born in Himalaya.
Geshe, Sherab, yeah. Yeah, I was born in Himalaya.
Oh.
Yeah. I was born in Himalaya, yeah, in Nepal, western part of Nepal. Yeah, it's
Into when you were younger.
yeah. I went when I was 8.
I think that's what you got really.
No, I think that is Istoba. I think. Yeah. Yeah. That is okay. We all look same. With this robe and shape, you know.
Renovating a little bit. It's good to have you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
It's good to have you.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
thank you.
Could you say compassion overcomes duality?
Mm,
Is compassion that overcomes the duality of what you were talking about? So,
Not directly, but it can help. You know, it helps to develop the wisdom of non-duality. We talk about wisdom and compassion, you know. So when we develop, yeah, in some of the master they say 2 wings. You know, like the bird needs 2 wings to fly. So we need 2 wings of compassion and wisdom to be able to fly to the nirvana or cessations. You
so
know.
always work on stuff.
Mm.
He's always work on stuff. So I've got more wisdom. Are there other ways to get wisdom?
How can you learn? How can you learn?
Yeah.
I mean, these are all different,
E-
but us humans need to complicate everything so much.
Yeah. I mean, like everything we can learn from mistake. There's no doubt that there's a wisdom that comes through the mistake, but also you can learn without mistake. For example, when you are learning how to drive, we learn about all the rules. So you learn all this and have the wisdom what to do, what not to do without making a mistake. Or you drive without learning it. You get a big ticket and you learn from that. Or you learn without making that mistake by studying and learning the rules. And so that will be same in many cases, you know, also in our spiritual path.
I love the whole philosophy of allowing people to be perfect on perfect. And then when you're on minds and be themselves, I think it leads to a better world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just split the
Okay, then maybe we can conclude here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bojan. Thank you for coming.